Okay, so I had mixed my resin for 6 minutes, and I'm doing a Halloween tray project. I'm doing 2 at a time. So let me share with you what I have used, but I'm going to go ahead and hit my stopwatch and hit start. And I always just want to watch my time, and it also helps me later on, like if I want to come back in an hour or so to do something, I'll have my clock to know exactly when I finished mixing my resin. I'm doing Halloween themed, and I'm placing an insert into each of these that's black. So I want kind of an orange with a yellow glow in the middle kind of thing. And I have mixed 34 ounces of resin, 17 for each mold, and that will fill it up about maybe halfway. These molds are 13 inches across. They hold at least 32 ounces of resin, if not more. I used the Artist Resin by Counterculture DIY, medium viscosity. B goes first because it's thinner, and then A goes into B, equal amounts. So I did 17 ounces of B first, and then 17 ounces of A into my B, and I mixed it for 6 minutes. And this is the rate at which I mix. I don't do it fast, I just do it consistently, going around the sides or back and forth, and that seems to work the best for me. Okay, so I also have 2 coaster molds, and if I need to make resin for them later, I will when I do my top coat or something like that. So I'm going to really concentrate on filling these up first. So I've got a 12-ounce cup here. I've actually used it before, and I'm going to put maybe 11 ounces. I'm not going to fill it all the way to the top, or you can't stir it. Safety precautions: use gloves, goggles or eyewear, a mask or a full face mask if you can. I have a room with a window slightly open and a ceiling fan going, so you want ventilation. This is going to be my orange in spirit of Halloween, and this is going to be bright yellow. And so let me go ahead and show you. I'm using this Little Piggy Submarine. So it's a really bright, bold, like school bus yellow. Maybe the yellow submarine from Beatles, huh? Okay, so I'm going to put a really, like 2 spoonfuls, and this is about the size of my finger. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to use a bigger stick. It's about 6 inches tall for this 12-ounce cup to get it mixed in. I am doing it over a paper towel. I always put something under whatever I'm mixing so that you don't spill the mica or whatever into your mold. So this is going to give it some shimmer. I'm also going to throw in some alcohol ink drops too as well. I can see through this cup, and I can see that it's still not even mixed at the bottom yet. I'm going to put another really large, like a more than a teaspoon, into that. And that'll be it for my mica. And I had a little, maybe 8 or 9 drops left in this bottle. That's Pinata alcohol ink. You have to kind of fold it in at the beginning if you've got a really full cup of resin. It also helps your mica not fly out everywhere. This is going to be a pretty simple piece. I don't want it transparent. I want it pretty saturated, pretty opaque. Okay, so a little less white. The other one looked a little pastel. So I'm just putting in what would be a few drops, but dispersion color is very intense, so it'll make this mixture more opaque, which is what I'm looking for. My goal is for when I pull it through like that to look through it and it not be transparent. This is mostly going to be behind the black cutout. It's a wood cutout that's super thin that I got, I think, at the dollar store. Dollar Tree maybe. For this one, I'm going to use Tropicana. I'm going to put, I don't use orange that often, so I'm going to put probably a good teaspoon or so of that. This will be for the shimmer. And let's go with orange, which is kind of a neon orange. Okay. That. And then habanero, which is deeper. So this part is like about 24 ounces. So I wanted to put black around the edge, like a rim of black, but I feel like it would shift in as it cures and kind of, you know, go through the orange and the yellow, and I don't really want that to happen. So I don't think I'm going to use black on the edge. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to put just a little bit more of the habanero, which is the deeper orange that I have, the dispersion color. I want it really opaque. I don't want to be able to see through my tray, if at all possible. A little bit is okay, but really don't want that as my end game. The rule of thumb is never to add 10% of anything, any color or anything into your resin in the amount that you're mixing in currently. Like for the yellow, that was a different part, so 10% of that. For this, it's 10% of this part. And I definitely have not put in 10% of mica powders and dispersion colors into this. So my goal is to put about half of this into each one and then pour the other yellow half and half into the middle. So what I'm going to do is go around the outskirts of the mold. A little bit more to use up about 12. Okay, and then I'm going to take about half of this yellow and then do the same thing over here. The orange may shift into the yellow a little bit. That's okay. I just kind of want the center to glow a little bit if possible. I'm going to take my gloves off and then I'll show you what I got. And I sprayed it black. Spray paint. You could paint it with the paintbrush. I did not paint the back side black because in case this wasn't totally opaque, then I didn't want black showing through on the other side. So one is a haunted house, one is a happy Halloween. You don't put them in now because they would sink, so you have to wait. So I'm going to watch my timer and maybe come back in about an hour and check to see if it's tacky. And if it's tacky, then you can lay it on top. But until it's to the point of tacky and not wet and fluid, you would lose it and it would sink. It's better to even go longer and put it between layers than to do it too soon and lose your piece. It's only been 21 minutes since I mixed the resin, so probably around an hour and a half I'll check it and then add my pieces. And you know, like I said, the orange may come in. Hopefully it won't shift too much. I'm not even gonna cover these because again, the piece is gonna go on top and so forth. So I'll be back. Okay, it's tacky. but it's been 2 hours, so nothing's gonna like sink into it. So I'm gonna look at the designs. Like this has a big circle right there. So I think I want to cover that with that. And if you can't touch it because it's still tacky, so when you drop it in, you just got to drop it. And then I'm going to press it just because it has set up enough over 2 hours. But I want to make sure it makes contact. Just because this is super thin wood. And it's squeezing through the little sections. But you don't want it to go over. It's only been 2 hours. I'm going to give it 3 or 4 more hours, and I may add some black detail around the edge. Well, I have these check seed beads and they're black. Let's just put them in a cup and see. They're crystal with black. There is room. Okay. So I'll finish letting all this cure and then I'll come back and put a top coat on. Yep. Got fingerprints on the crystal. I can clean them up with alcohol when it's done. You could actually put resin on it now, but I like to let the resin, the first layer, get at least hard to the touch, which is usually about 4 to 5 hours, and then coat it. It's just, I like to do it to where they're not trying to compete with each other with the heat and resistance. So I'll be back. Okay, so it's been probably 5 hours or so. This is hard. It's not been overnight, but we don't need for it to be in order to put the top coat on it. Sometimes I use fast set, but because I'm saving what I do have, I'm going to just go ahead and use medium viscosity and let it cure overnight. It would be cured in 5 hours, but I'll be in bed. And I had one knob that kind of went this way in the resin. It didn't like fall over, but it's slanted a bit, but it's still intact. It's still good. You're not going to be able to pull it out. So I have mixed about, I think 22 to 23 ounces. So that'll be about 11 ounces for each one, and hopefully that'll be enough to top coat this wooden piece that's on top. So I'm gonna just try to split it in half. Just start in the middle.
Yeah.
Also, the wood piece that's inserted, sometimes the bubbles might creep up from around the piece, from the sides and so forth, so I've got to make sure and just tackle that with a toothpick and torch, that kind of thing. I did see a hair somewhere. Where'd it go? Right here. Okay, so it's been the next day, and this one turned out pretty well as far as the top coat. I kept having bubbles that were coming up from the insert, the wooden insert, because you have it stuck to the bottom layer, but when you put the top coat on it, sometimes the air will try to creep out from the wooden piece. So I kept having to come back and try to pop bubbles, and I eventually gave up because I was ready to go to bed. But so this one is finished. Just a good old Halloween inspired tray. This knob is a little off to the right, but it still works as far as holding it. So yeah, so this is the first one. Now this one, I don't know if you can see, there are some areas like right there. See how that light hits? Some of those bubbles did kind of raise to the surface even after I came back an hour and a half later and kept kind of working on it. So I'm going to put one more coat of resin on this one. Maybe another 10 ounces or something. There's still some room in the mold, not a lot, but enough to maybe put a really thin coat. So I'm going to top coat this one, and then we'll unmold. Okay, so here's the other one. So I was going to unmold, but I've got this weird little line right there that looks like something was smeared. I don't know what it is. It goes all the way around. So I'm going to have to top coat this, I think, with one more. And I had some overflow on my mold because I had gone over the edge of my silicone mold. Okay, so I have some overflow that I've got to heat. I'm going to heat it with my heat tool, and then I'm going to have to cut it off. Okay, so I will have to do a really thin top coat to get rid of that film or whatever it is around the... I may try to buff it out if I can find my polishing thing. And my handles are really kind of deep in, so I don't have a lot of space underneath the handles because this was so thick because of the amount of resin I used in the mold. So, but it's cute as can be. And for a hot minute, I had it upside down, and I thought, oh my goodness, I put the whole thing in the wrong way. But then I realized I was upside down. So, blonde moment, my goodness. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll show finished pictures, videos out in the sunshine when it's a prettier day. Here's what the bottom side looks like. Bye-bye.